out of an eater came something to eat. Out of someone strong came something sweet. And it was like difficult. I mean, it was a trap for the Philistines because there was no way for them to answer that. Tax code can be like a riddle to people, and the IRS can be like an overpowering line. But with the right steps, it we can get to the point of honey, which is a redemptive component. In this case, with solving the tax problem, somebody can start in the ditch. His wallet is drained, his assets are being drained by the IRS. The IRS harasses them as a line.
They have the ability to invest even this one talent, so it can produce two tomorrow.
95% that drives our behavior is from the subconscious. Only 5% is visibly conscious level. So if we affect the subconscious with classic music, it already gears us, as Vasyl said, towards structure, towards focus, towards intentionality. So no wonder the sociological studies show correlation between classical music and financial outcomes.
Hello, you guys. This is B-Dance Podcast, where we talking about taxes, money, life, and different other things. We just talking life, yeah. So today we will be discussing and expanding on the concept where Vasyl was talking last time. His concept of business, and also expanding on this idea of holistic purpose in taxation, in life, in financing overall. How can we like have this big picture, and also small steps how we can walk and achieve pleasurable for us results. So Vasyl, good to have you today.
Yeah, thank you. Happy to be here.
So can you really like maybe expand a little bit on the previous topic, and then we can go maybe to the other things.
Yeah. So when we were covering how I got this idea about the bee dance and what's behind it, one of the things I'd like to focus on today is that the honeycomb is shaped as a hexagon. It has 6 sides. So the service offerings of our business, there are 6 major offerings to match each of the sides of the hexagon. So I'd like to elaborate more on that and how each of those services connect from the beginning when somebody is in the ditch all the way to exiting business, meaning selling it. But before then, I also wanted to mention some additional inspiration, some parable I thought about this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this morning I thought I was reading something about honeycomb and its properties, and then as I was reading about density and length of the honeycomb, and that it's very useful for energy efficiency and allocating resources in the most efficient manner, I thought of a riddle about honey shared by Samson in the Bible, in the book of Judges. So the background of the story is that Samson is a Nazarite, meaning he took a vow not to drink alcoholic beverages, not to cut his hair, and not to approach any dead body, because his parents received the prophecy he's going to be a judge for the nation of Israel, and he's going to rescue it from the Philistines. That God is going to work through him to rescue the nation of Israel. So as he is on the way to his exploits to get rid of the Philistine threat, he falls in love with the Philistine woman named Timnah, and his parents oppose that, but he convinces them that he really wants to marry her, so asks them to arrange the marriage. But on the way to see Timnah, as he walks there, a young lion attacks him, and the Spirit of God descends on him and gives Samson power to overpower that lion. So he goes and sees Timnah, his bride. On the way back, he passes by the carcass of the lion, and there was a swarm of bees there, and lo and behold, there is some honey there. So he takes that honey from the carcass of the lion, and he eats some himself, and he brings some and shares with his parents, of course not telling them of the source of that honey. And I was and then when he marries this Philistine woman, he at the wedding feast, he gives a riddle to the Philistines, and the riddle is as follows: out of an eater came something to eat. Out of someone strong came something sweet. And it was like difficult. I mean, it was a trap for the Philistines because there was no way for them to answer that, and because that comes from Samson's personal experience. And then his bride was threatened that her house and her father's house would be killed if she doesn't find out from Samson the answer to the riddle. So eventually, Philistines not get the answer, but by deceit. But the cool thing to me was that riddle itself: out of an eater came something to eat. Out of somebody strong came something to sweet. And finally, once Timnah coaxed Samson to reveal the answer to the riddle, and she shared that with the Philistines, that's how they knew that. And I was thinking about what's the connection with the tax services here and the B-dance, and I thought, well, tax code can be like a riddle to people, and the IRS can be like an overpowering lion. But with the right steps, we can get to the point of honey, which is a redemptive component. So when we talk about God's redemptive story, that He can redeem something even from bad situations, like it was honey in that case. So in Samson's life, God used him despite of his flaws. And in this case, with solving the tax problem, somebody can start in the ditch. His wallet is drained, his assets are being drained by the IRS harasses them as a lion. And then when you get the right representation, the right approach, you get out of the ditch. And if the person is entrepreneurial enough, our business teaches color accounting model, which is innovative method of teaching accounting, not sides left for debit and right for credit, which is hard for us to follow psychologically, but using color. So learns the financial literacy, then another service is access to capital, then providing insights like outsource CFO and financial planning and analysis for the existing operations of the business, and finally financial due diligence at exit when the business is getting ready to sell in a merger and acquisition transaction. So that's the story I was thinking about and how it connects to the B-dance.
I like it. It's really about second chance. I think people really need to know that there is a hope for crazy hopeless situations, and when we getting proactive about our life, speaking generally, maybe even it starts from something physical, then emotional, then it goes to your um, uh, managing finances, taxes, other things.
Yeah, and I
Like
want
everything is related, really.
Yeah, and I wanted to draw on that to glean some insights from what you said. It can start with physical and emotional.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to connect it to your music background because it's sometimes our soul is so dry that we need to re-engage it.
Yeah.
And then when we think about beat dance, when we say dance, what imagery comes to mind when we think about dance? Usually we dance to music. And music is a creation of the soul to bless people's soul. So maybe you can elaborate on that component of how we need to revive our soul in order to get to the point of taking action, because we procrastinate as people, we lack motivation, and how do we tap into the emotional levers of a human being to encourage the right action?
Whoa, that's a hard question. Hard question for me. I'm just living in this music mode all the time. Sometimes I'm even done thinking about how really music is like helping people throughout their lives. Music is like, it's one of the senses that we have, like one of the five senses. We have the hearing, and then music is something even more beautiful to help
Touches the heart.
people, touches the heart emotions, and even more. It communicates the idea. So, you know what, I think maybe music, it's like this, what is the word?
Yes.
Catalyst.
It's a catalyst for act. It can be
Catalyst,
used as a
yes.
catalyst for action to break procrastination
Yeah.
and some emotional blockages that people experience for whatever reason.
Yeah, that's what I think. Really.
Yeah. So, if somebody struggles with procrastination, for example, and then would you recommend listening to a certain type of music? So imagine a situation. Somebody out there struggles with procrastination to solve their tax problem. He is scared. He doesn't know how to approach it, so he keeps on receiving these notices, but he puts it in the drawer and he doesn't know what to do about all of that. Could you recommend something from the music world, maybe to listen to particular pieces that could possibly break through those blockages and procrastination?
Yeah, maybe the most simple advice I can give, it's listening to classical music, because you know what, there is a structure. There's always A, B, C, something like that. Can go back and forth, and there's a lot of structure. So sometimes we need this, I think, structure, which is when we listen to some kind of music, like classical music, Mozart, Bach, Beethoven, those three pillars, I'd say, it just gives us this good start. And let's say if you do it intentionally, Vivaldi, the other one, those are people who created the music with intentions to bless other people with it,
How do you feel about Frederick Chopin?
Frederick Chopin, he's more on the romanticism side, but his pieces is really powerful too. I mean, I even not coming close to his art, I would say. I cannot play it, but yeah, I think music, it's another maybe even topic. It's a really big topic, so we can expand on, but it's really could be serving as a catalyzer for our intentional thinking, intentional changes that we want to implement in our lives. I believe everything is really connected.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that, because there are studies out there that sociology study different types of people based on different types of music they listen.
Yeah.
And they were trying to find if there is any correlation between financial wealth and the music people listen. And the studies showed that people who listen classical music generally achieve much better outcomes, including financial outcomes, than people who listen to other music types. So thank you for elaborating on that structure it gives on the focus, but that intentionality.
Yeah.
And it's interesting comparison here. If you try to solve your case, you need focus, you need intentionality, you need structure. And usually the blockages are on the subconscious level. 95% that drives the behavior is from the subconscious. Only 5% is visibly conscious level. So if we affect the subconscious with classic music, it already gears us, as Vasyl said, towards structure, towards focus, towards intentionality. So no wonder the sociological studies show correlation between classical music and financial outcomes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, don't want to offend music that we often hear today, but like let's say if people hurt and they produce music out of their hurt, sometimes this can also hurt us, and we sometimes we also like to be in this hurtful situation, like we don't want to imagine ourselves being free from it. So I really do think this have connections.
Yeah, so if somebody says, I don't really enjoy classical music, I feel bored by it, would you say that there is still utility or value from listening it anyway?
Yeah, specifically you can find just those pieces that you like more, and there's a lot of entertaining pieces, not just like not just for musicians. And there is I think there is a lot of good music. For my personally, I like Vivaldi, this Four Seasons. Listening to Four Seasons, let's say, there's a Bach pieces that he wrote like for sonatas, partitas, and he wrote it for like purposes of church, like being like glorifying God with his music. So I do just when hearing these things, I really hear then the I would say vibe, the bad word maybe vibe, but the vibe is really like hopeful, often hopeful vibe to in order for him, like he was doing this to glorify Creator, to also maybe like show hope and things like that.
Yeah, would you say that connecting with God helps us get connected with the idea that God created as stewards of the resources He entrusted to us? So by connecting with God in that regard will help us get connected with the purposes that God has for our life, including being frugal and careful and good steward of resources. He doesn't want us to neglect financial matters. He wants us to be good stewards of those resources entrusted to us.
Yeah, for sure. Like I would say Bible is really it's really holistic book about everything, and there's a parables that that Jesus was teaching people about different matters, and there's a lot of like really words, the verses that we're talking about money, right? Like somebody who counted, and it's happened to be that the money was mentioned in the Bible even more than things like love, I think, or something like that.
Like God's kingdom,
love,
perhaps.
Yeah, that's
that parable about talents that teaches us God gives us certain talents. God wants us to steward and manage them well.
Yeah, so I think that's the great parable. For example, we have those talents. Everybody has those talents, whether it's 5, 10, or 1. We shouldn't be neglecting them, and really being intentional with what we have. It's super important, because we do have the ability to invest even this one talent, so it can produce 2 tomorrow, 4 in another week and stuff. It's progression, really.
Yeah, so we took a little diversion here, but as Vasyl said in the beginning, we talk about life, it's all connected. You see, and as Vasyl said, that I think classical music for the general public has a bad rap, meaning they can be boring for a lot of people. But I think when we talk about subconscious is 95% driver of our behavior. And we so focus on that 5% of our conscious thoughts. So it's like most people see the tip of the iceberg and they maybe listen to a few pieces and they're like, oh, it's boring, I don't like it. But they saw the tip of the iceberg. They didn't really took time to go in depth with different pieces that Vasyl was suggesting could be much more interesting for you. You go and experiment. So likewise with the text code, most people hear the text code like, oh, boring. I mean, what's the point? You telling me all these sections I got to read it? But if you use it right, then you can really